Welcome, everyone. We will get started in exactly 3 minutes. Welcome, everyone new. We will get started in 1 minute. All right, guys, welcome, everyone. My name is Jerica. I'm a technical product manager at Elevar, and that means I get to spend my days at the forefront of server-side tracking and get to help with all the cool new features we're releasing. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So what's new with Elevar's server-side tracking? Our agenda will be, first, we're going to talk about the checkout funnel. Then, of course, we're going to touch on Google Analytics, but before talking about consent, and then talking about the future and what's next before opening it up for questions. Now, of course, you can see this meeting is being recorded and it will be available after the call. So let's get into it. So let's talk about the checkout funnel. And some of our changes are in response to some industry changes we're seeing. So you guys might have heard by now, but Shopify has released its checkout extensibility. What is that? Well, for a very long time, Shopify has had their Shopify checkout. That's the standard Shopify checkout that we all know and love. It's the first one you think of. Let's call it the legacy checkout. Shopify has now built a new checkout. They're calling it Checkout 1. So we have legacy checkout and Checkout 1. The draw of using Checkout 1 is there's a lot more features Shopify allows you to do with customization. You can do a lot more cooler things with upsells, with the look of the checkout, with the data that you can have shoppers input into the fields, lots of cool things. There is one drawback, and of course, it has to do with tracking. So this drawback affects Shopify Plus merchants only. So Shopify non-Plus merchants, this won't affect you. And the drawback is if a Shopify Plus merchant upgrades to the new Checkout 1, they will lose the ability to track checkout funnel events. They'll still be able to track purchase events. So you'll still get the final purchase, but you won't be able to track the checkout funnel, the initiate checkout, the add shipping info, and the add payment info events. Now, I do have some good news. So this is where our beta comes into play. So we have a beta for the checkout funnel tracking. What this beta will allow you to do is it will allow a Shopify Plus merchant who is using Elevar Server, not if you're using your own server, have to be using Elevar Server, to be sent to send the checkout events server-side only to a limited number of destinations on this checkout one or any Shopify checkout. So this can help. This won't be a one-to-one fix, but this will help mitigate the transition and the data loss when moving to the new checkout one for Shopify Plus merchants only. Remember, this only affects Shopify Plus merchants. Shopify Non-Plus, we've never really been able to track the checkout funnel events due to Shopify limitations, so nothing's going to change there. It's just Plus merchants. So what is this cool magic I'm speaking of where we can now track things regardless of this Shopify limitation? It's actually really cool. So the amazing thing with server-side tracking is we've been able to take tracking and events that have traditionally been load-based events and turn them into action-based tracking. We first did this with our purchase event. So the purchase event has always traditionally been requiring the thank you page to fully load. When the thank you page fully loads, tracking fires, data gets sent. Now, if a shopper navigates away from the thank you page too early, tracking doesn't load, data doesn't get sent. If you have an upsell funnel in place and the shopper makes a purchase, is shown an upsell, and then exits the page, they never make it to the thank you page, tracking never loads, data doesn't get sent. We're taking this same action-based logic. Well, let me say the solution first. So that was the old way, the load-based item. With server-side, the trigger is an order being created in Shopify. No more load-based dependencies. An ad blocker can't stop Shopify from creating an order. That's how we're able to get that 99% order accuracy guarantee between Shopify and your server-side destination, that action-based tracking. Now we're taking the same action-based logic and we're applying it for lower funnel events. Those checkout funnel events, the initiate checkout, the add shipping info, the add payment info. So the initiate checkout event was traditionally fired upon the first page of the Shopify checkout being loaded. Now, in this beta, the trigger will be Shopify creating a checkout for the customer. No more load page dependencies. Ad blocker can't stop Shopify from creating its checkout. So we're going to say, crazy win for accuracy. Right now we're seeing 95% checkout accuracy, checkout event funnel accuracy. I could see this going up to that same 99% accuracy as the orders once it's out of beta. So this beta is currently available for Shopify Plus merchants only. You must be using Elevar Server. If you're using your own server, you can switch to using Elevar Server and then participate in the beta. Now, Shopify Non-Plus merchants, you're probably raising your hands like, couldn't this help me too? I like where your head's at. So we do have a non-plus beta for this coming out at the end of October, early November. So really soon. Really soon, you'll also be able to take a part in this beta and track the checkout funnel events you probably weren't able to track before. Now you will be able to. So you can send them server-side only, and again, to a limited number of destinations. So the destinations you can send them to are Universal Analytics, GA4, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat. So if you're looking to upgrade to the new checkout one and you're a Shopify Plus merchant, would highly recommend taking advantage of the beta. If you're a non-plus merchant, a beta is coming available for you very, very soon. Such cool things. Next, let's talk about updates to Google Analytics. So there's two key things we're going to talk about here. First is Universal Analytics. We are now able to send all standard e-commerce events server-side. So page view events, view item events, add to cart events can now all be sent offline via an API to Universal Analytics. That means you don't need global JavaScript on your website to track standard e-commerce funnel events for Universal Analytics. What a win for site speed. And the other update with Google Analytics is GA4. GA4 is finally here. So our GA4 server-side integration is available. If you've been following along, you might know that our GA4 server-side integration had an attribution issue we were working on. It's fixed. So you can now set up GA4 server-side. It will send the purchase event server-side only and get that 99% order accuracy between Shopify and GA4. Now, GA4 is very different than Universal Analytics. We are finding that. I'm sure you're finding that as you're learning more about it. And for that reason, we have a couple highly recommended best practices for setting up GA4 server-side to help you get the best data. I listed them out here. They're also in our documentation. So if you're setting this up and following our help docs, they're listed there too. Basically follow the best practices so you can get the best data in GA4. Now let's talk about consent. So we have released consent mode. This allows your server-side integrations to be consent aware. So if you have rules set up for CCPA or GDPR within your consent software, now your server-side integrations can be aware of what consent your shoppers are giving, when they give consent, when they don't give consent, and it will fire the tracking based upon the rules that you configure. We currently have integrations for OneTrust, CookieBot, and most recently Pandectase. And in this next release we're hoping to do, we'll have an integration with Ayubenda. So that should be very soon, again, end of October, early November. I do want to address one common question we get about our consent mode, and it is, our consent mode is black and white. If the shopper gives consent, our server-side integration will send the data. If the shopper does not give consent, our server-side integration will not send the data. It's black and white, there's no gray area. We won't obfuscate the information. We won't just remove the PII data. It is black and white. If consent is not given, data won't be sent. If consent is given, data will be sent. That is how it works. Now let's talk a little bit about the future and what's next. So obviously we talked about the checkout funnel beta coming available for non-plus stores at the end of October, early November, as well as that Ayubenda consent integration. But beyond that, we're looking at a couple of really cool things, guys. So one, we're taking a deeper dive into our attribution, how we're storing it, how we're processing it, so we can get you guys the most actionable data possible. We're also looking at how can we make Elevar's server more accessible to a broader range of Shopify customers, more startup brands who could really use that good data. Maybe teams that don't have a tech team that they can manage their Google Server Cloud. And we are looking at adding more server-side destinations. Now, I will not be able to say what server-side destinations we're going to add, only that we will be adding more. If you have an opinion, though, if you have an opinion of what server-side destinations we should add, I want to hear it. Email us at help@getelevar.com and tell me your opinion. What server-side destinations should we be looking into? Should we be prioritizing? Let me know. So to give a quick recap from today, any Shopify Plus merchants using Elevar's fully managed server take advantage of our checkout funnel beta. Email us at help@getelevar.com. We'll make sure you qualify and we'll help you get set up on the beta. If you haven't already yet, set up GA4 server-side. Get that 99% accuracy already good to go. If you need consent, our consent mode is available. If you want to submit additional integration requests for additional consent softwares, you can do so in your Elevar app. And we got a lot more cool new features to come. Now, if you've been sitting here and you've been thinking you're not on Elevar's server, maybe you're just using browser tracking still, now is the time to upgrade to Elevar server-side tracking. Get upgraded before Black Friday, before the holiday season, so you can send your marketing channels the best data possible so they can do the best remarketing possible. To get up on Elevar server-side tracking, two options. One, you can upgrade yourself. So visit upgrade.getelevar.com for some helpful documentation and some steps to get set up on Elevar server-side tracking. Or let's have a conversation. Talk to one of our sales team members, visit us at getelevar.com/video-demo and book a time with one of our sales teams. Tell us about your store, tell us about your unique setup, and we'll figure out what a good partnership looks like. And that's what I had for today. So if you guys have any questions, we'll open it up for a Q&A. There is a button on your Zoom screen that says Q&A. You can go ahead and click that button and it will allow you to type in a question that will appear to me and I can answer any questions that you guys have. All right, so first question. Can you have server-side and client-side tracking firing at the same time to UA/GA4? It's a good question. And the answer is you can have it firing at the same time, but not the same events. So you can send the purchase event server-side to GA4, but send all the rest of your hits browser-side. You could send the purchase event, the initiate checkout event, and the add to cart event server-side to Universal Analytics, but send the page view event, the view content event, the view item list event client-side to Universal Analytics. So you can have them running in parallel, you just cannot overlap events. UA is not like Facebook. Facebook allows you to deduplicate. Facebook says, send me client data and server data, and I will deduplicate. UA is not like that. So yes, you can have it firing at the same time, but you cannot have it firing for the same events. Good question. More questions, type them into that Q&A. I must have done a really good job. I'll leave it open for one more minute. You got one more minute to type in any questions that you do have into that Q&A chat, and I'll answer them live on the call. Next question came up. Have you seen performance improvements in Facebook's and others with server-side? Any hard data? Definitely. Definitely seen improvements. I don't know if we have any case studies on the website, but that would be the first place that I would go to check. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but actually like a third-party marketing agency did a study of the native Shopify Facebook app, that native app that sends the pixel data and the conversion API data. And they actually show that the native app doesn't send like key information. I think it's like the FBC or the FB click ID. Like the native app doesn't send like key like event IDs like FB click, FBC, FBP or something like that to Facebook, which Facebook uses those click IDs to match clicks on an ad to shopper actions on your website. So it's actually very crucial for Facebook to like have that as connectors. And with the Elevar server-side integration, we do send the FBP, FBC, user agent, FBCLID, and all those parameters as well. So definitely would recommend checking out the website. I don't know if we have any customer case studies up, but we've definitely seen improvements for sure. Next question. So what does participation in the beta look like? We don't have much technical expertise. Is it still worth doing? Are there any risks of data issues during the beta? So again, the beta is for Shopify Plus merchants. You must already be using Elevar's server-side tracking. So if you're using Elevar server-side tracking, that allows you to do participation in the beta. So let's say you have Elevar's server-side tracking set up for Universal Analytics, and you want to participate in our checkout funnel beta. You email into help@getelevar.com, say, I would like to participate in the beta. I'm already set up with X, Y, and Z on Elevar server. Then our team does all the work on the back end. It's actually not even that much work on our back end. We do a little bit of work to get you into the beta, and no technical work on your end. That's really it. You just need to already have been set up on Elevar server, and we can add in the beta features. Risks of data issues during the beta. Well, it is a beta. We are definitely still QAing the integration, making little tweaks, seeing how the data looks. So far, the data looks great, but it's not like a fully present. It's still in beta. Beta's product is a beta product. So can't say it's going to be 100% working right. That's why I'm not at that 99% guarantee. But everything is looking really good from the QA I've done so far. Next question. So if you're still using client-side tracking events, do you still keep JavaScript on your site? Yes. Anytime you have client-side tracking, you have on-site JavaScript. And that's the beauty of server-side tracking, is you don't need that on-site JavaScript. So when we launched Universal Analytics all events server-side, if you just need those standard e-commerce funnel events, the page view, to the product view, to the item list view, to the item list click, add to cart, initiate checkout, all the way to the purchase. If you just need those standard e-commerce funnel events, you can send all of those offline via the API and not have any on-site JavaScript, which is awesome. But many retailers like to do custom events. So they want to track a specific button click, a specific, when an item is specifically visible to the customer. We want to see how their navigation's doing. All of those custom events will still be sent client side, and then you will still need the JavaScript on site for that. But less JavaScript is always better. So even if you have some JavaScript, less tags loading, it's always better. Next question. So does pushing these client-side script through GTM rather than in the theme directly improve performance? These client-side script through GTM rather than so is it better for site improvement to have things fire through GTM versus having them fire via hard-coded script? It depends, maybe. I mean, with the GTM, you do collect data once, and then all the tags use the data that was collected. We don't tend to see like a huge improvement, like a drastic, oh my gosh, improvement when someone goes from hard-coded scripts to GTM. I guess if you had like, maybe in certain scenarios, you could have some good improvement. But really where we're expecting to see like site speed performance improvement is as we move to more and more things server side and not relying on client side at all. That's where we're going to expect to see more and more like site speed performance improvements, because things aren't needed client side at all. You don't need the website can actually focus on loading the content and not the tracking scripts. So might see some improvements. It's not really expected. I don't commonly see crazy improvements moving everything to GTM. Could happen, but the real truth is we want to be looking at server side in the future for site speed improvements. And these are good questions, guys. And by the way, I just talked about that Facebook item, how the native Facebook Shopify integration doesn't send certain key data. And this is the article I'm referencing. So this actually wasn't done by Elevar. This is done by a marketing agency, Disruptive Digital, and they took a look at the native Shopify integration and how it really works. And I was hoping I could just go and find it. But this is the article that talks about how the native Shopify integration doesn't send certain of those key click IDs. It's because they spelled it out and didn't use the abbreviation that I was searching for. So Shopify doesn't send the click ID and the browser ID. And again, Facebook uses these IDs to attach a click on an ad to action on the website. If you can't attach that, how's it going to know to remarket to those users, what those users' actions were? How can that be, personalized to the user? Elevar's integration does send both. Any more questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time, guys. This has been awesome. We really appreciate the time and the questions. Again, join our beta if you're a Shopify Plus using Elevar Server. Set up GA4 server-side tracking if you haven't yet. Use consent mode and let us know your product feedback, any new consent integrations you want, new server-side integrations you think we could consider. Email us at help@elevar.com with your opinion because I want to hear it. All right, thanks for your time today, guys. Have a good Wednesday.